Hello, and welcome to Gin and Cake. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Gin and Cake. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Joel.
And we are here to live watch episode 2 of the Great British Baking Show, season 1. Yay!
Yes, we are. And a lot has happened since episode 1.
You mean in our real lives?
In our real lives, and everyone's real lives.
Yeah, there was an election, wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah.
And I fled the country the day after.
Well, and that was wise, Joel. Why, it was
Yeah.
wise. I went on a complete social media blackout for about 2 weeks, and that was also wise.
I think a social media blackout that's just permanent is also a wise move.
I'm not opposed, frankly. It has not really improved my life going back, so that's why I focus so much on watching pleasant people do pleasant things, because the alternative out there in the real world is really not fun at all.
This is true, but I'm going to confess I'm not drinking a gin drink tonight.
What do you have?
I have a drink that I learned about during my 2 weeks outside of the country when I fled it, because a group of us did a trip, an international trip where we went to Venice and various places in Croatia via a Royal Caribbean cruise, and then we came back to Venice and spent 2 more days there. And what I'm drinking is a Ginger Jack's, which was introduced to me by a bartender named Marius who worked on the cruise ship. And it's ginger and mint muddled together with honey and Jack Daniels and club soda on top of it, and it's beautiful.
That sounds gorgeous and also very holiday appropriate.
Yeah, it is. Very, very festive flavors.
I love that. I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah, I'll make you one.
Or possibly in an hour. I think I have those ingredients. I myself am enjoying a traditional gin and tonic, but with a new gin from the Pilot House in Astoria, Oregon called Painted Lady, which you have tried, I believe. Yeah. And it is, it's just lovely. It's very botanical, not at all juniper. It's so many layers of botanics. I don't know what's in there, but it is delicious.
And that's a gin that works like as a shot. You don't even have to mix it with anything.
Yeah, when we tried it in the tasting, it was a sipper gin. I am mixing it today just to make it go further. But wow, it's good stuff. Good stuff. And I also want to say, when we mention any drinks or alcohols by name on this show, we are not being paid to do that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Nothing here is sponsored, so if we're complimenting your stuff, it's because it's worth complimenting.
Yeah.
So, well done, Pilot House. Gonna be calling you for a new order pretty soon, I think.
I want to visit that place. I've heard a lot about it now, via you.
We should go. I think with the next cabinet appointment, we should just get on a plane and get into that distillery.
And it's so close to the water, we can just shove off, on a little boat and go wherever fate takes us.
Oh, hey, Japan. You look pretty good. In the meantime, we will assuage our concerns with the Great British Baking Show.
Thank goodness it exists.
Indeed, indeed. So we're going to start episode 2, Biscuits, this evening with a little bit of a countdown. Mm-hmm. So have your show ready, and we're going to say ready, set, and play. Oh, and here's Mel and Sue, always introducing the show and always looking so perky.
And yes, and good fashion choices on their part too.
Always, always. Bright and festive.
And here's, I'll never get tired of the opening. I'm going to say that probably every episode, but I will never get tired of the opening.
Say it every time, Joel. I completely support you in that. The photography is beautiful, everything looks delicious, and I want to eat everything.
Yeah, depth of field makes everything look beautiful and expensive.
Oh, so does a good font.
Mm-hmm.
And we are starting here with the signature challenge, which I didn't really understand what this was, but it's a challenge designed to get the bakers to bake something they're really good at.
Okay.
That's about the theme. And in this case, it's biscuits, which for our American audiences means kind of cookies and kind of crackers. It means a lot of things in Britain that it doesn't mean in America, which has its own biscuit.
Well, yeah, because they're going to be doing a lot of savory biscuits. So, where's the line between baking and cooking? Because I typically think of baking as sweet stuff and cooking as savory stuff.
I think if it's got flour or some kind of other, sort of wheaty ingredient in it, it's pretty much baking. And that, meringues are baking. But if it goes in an oven, it's baking.
Okay.
Which actually takes us back to the word biscuit, which means twice baked.
Oh.
It's an old Latin
All right.
derivative, but it means twice baked. So it goes back to things like hardtack and things that were heavily cooked to preserve them.
Okay.
And it's morphed since then. Sweet biscuits didn't really come around, I think, until the very late 18th or 19th century. But that just didn't happen.
I guess, yeah, I forget that baking is a form of preservation.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So, back in the day, you would have a lot of really hard things that could be softened with milk or water over time. But just to keep them tidy, you'd bake the crap out of them. And we still do. Biscotti
Oh,
is a
sure.
biscuit, and it's a twice baked cookie. Much more similar to the old way of doing things. So there's Jordan, our geek buddy,
Yeah.
and he's making something with chili, and I love it.
3 different kinds of chilies, I think.
Yeah, I think it was several kinds of chilies.
Two of which I've never heard of two of them. Chipotle, I think, was the only one that.
Oh, really? There are so many chilies out there. I can't even keep track, but most of them are pretty delicious. Just a matter of heat. And here's Nancy. Nancy's just doing her thing, making her biscuits. I just love her sense of humor. It's so good.
She's terrific and so comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah, yeah. Fennel and rye thins is what she's making. So the challenge here is to make a biscuit that goes with cheese. So it could have cheese in it, but generally speaking, you could put cheese on it.
Okay. Which I guess would then favor making a savory biscuit.
Oh, I think so. I mean, there are some sweet ones. I could see maybe a biscuit with some honey in it,
Oh, yeah.
because sometimes you drizzle honey
Yeah,
on
yeah.
cheese. Nobody here is doing that, I think. But yeah, something with a little herbal zing and would be nice. Oh, and here's Ian making za'atar and fig, which what?
Okay, what is za'atar?
Za'atar is a Middle Eastern herb. It's actually a wild thyme.
Oh,
But the word za'atar also stands for some like spice and herb blends that can be very spicy or not spicy. They're very particular to the person making them.
okay.
It is technically a wild thyme.
Okay, because I'm only familiar with the sitar, which is a musical instrument, not an herb.
That would be different, Joel. That's quite different.
I guess so. That's a different show.
But you know what? A sitar-shaped biscuit with za'atar in it would be interesting.
I like the cleverness.
Oh, and here's Inwezer. How do you pronounce that? And they say it like 7 different ways in this poor show. I feel terrible for him.
Yeah, I know that at some point Sue pronounces it Enweso.
Yeah, yeah. And then Mary has her own take on it. But see, that's a very unusual dough he's making. It's so wet.
And so it's unusual for a biscuit specifically.
Yeah, generally you'd want something drier because you want it to be a dry product in the end. So he just has to work harder to get that moisture out of there if you want it to be crisp.
Okay, and so if it's too moist, is it just going to spread out too much or just be soggy, or what will happen to it?
It could be soggy or, you'd have to cook it a lot longer and then risk burning it.
Mm.
It just takes a little more skill, but he seems confident because, again, in the signature bake, it's something, and they all mention this, it's something that they've made before, something that they're very comfortable making that really shows off their skill. Although that takes us back to Ian's, and you think, well, it sounded like he was experimenting, so.
That's got to be a tough line to ride between doing what you're comfortable with so you can do well on the show, but also experimenting in order to impress the judges.
I agree, yeah.
And I love that picture of Louis as a little kid.
So cute. It's just adorable. It's kind of the perfect family photo. He's so funny. I notice every time somebody walks up to his bench, he says the same thing. It's like that, hiya. Hi, all right? It's a very regional thing. I get the feeling. He's from Manchester, and it actually made me think a little bit. We talked in the last show about how people weren't stereotypical reality show people. But is that because we don't, as Americans, recognize some British stereotypes?
Oh, that's a good question.
And I don't know the answer to that. It would be interesting to know. I mean, are these people chosen to represent regions or particular attributes that, anyone in Britain would pick up on instantly? It's the hard part about watching a show from a different country.
True, we could include someone in the podcast from that region, but that's just way too sensible, so no.
Oh, no. Let's speculate wildly. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
And there was Chetna. She's making a cracker from her mother. So again, something from the family, something she's very comfortable with, but is unusual, something the judges may never have tried. I love that. Love it.
So I wonder if they poll the contestants ahead of time if this is supposed to be something that they're comfortable with to make sure that they've all made biscuits of some kind in the past.
My guess is you don't get on this show if you can't prove that you can make a lot of stuff in a lot of categories. You know what I mean? I don't know the details of getting to be a contestant, but when they have thousands of participants in that selection process, these guys got to be pretty good. And there was Diana. She was making a pastry. I don't know if you noticed that. A Parmesan sort of puff pastry. So how is that a biscuit? I don't know.
Well, yeah. How is a biscuit defined exactly then?
I would not have assumed that was a biscuit in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not quite sure where the line is drawn here. But, she's not thrown out for it, so I don't know.
And she made a very cute time pun, too.
That was a moment where she was trying to, come out of her shell a little bit, which she's so funny when she does, when she's not sort of being nervous and down on herself.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what she's like off camera. She's probably like a lot of fun to hang with.
I would think so. And here's Norman, who also seems like an absolute scream.
Yeah.
Now he's making something as basic a biscuit as it gets. It's flour, lard. I'm not even sure what was in it. Almost nothing. Very plain. But if you have the right ingredients and a good combination, it's going to taste good. Oh, Martha.
And still can't believe she's only 17 years old.
I know. I think she's the youngest contestant in any season.
And caramelized onion and goat cheese. That sounds so good.
Yum. So in this case, she's putting the cheese in the biscuit. Yay. And I love the fact that she's cutting out little M's. It's so cute. Good for her.
Now, have you made many biscuits in your career?
Not that many. I mean, not that many savory. Certainly many, many, many sweet cookies in America, which are biscuits. But not too many savories. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. But, sometimes it's just easier to buy things, Joel.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know that. And what is your professional baking background? I know a little bit of it, but only a little.
Professional is, I'm going to put that in huge quotes right there. I've always baked. My mother taught me, and then I just expanded on that. But then, maybe a decade ago, I decided to have a bakery stall at the local fresh market, just on a whim. I thought, I can do this. And I did that for 2 years. So I just made all kinds of things, and it was very successful. And what I discovered from that was I don't want to be a professional baker. That's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
For not much money.
And is it just...
There are much better things to do.
Is it because you couldn't produce the volume necessary to generate a good profit?
Yes. Ultimately, yes. I what I could do having a full-time job doing something else that was completely non-baking related, and then doing that in my spare time, I just couldn't keep up. I would be sold out from a market that was open till 2 and 3 in the afternoon, and I'd be done by 11:30.
Oh, wow.
I just couldn't keep up.
Well, then obviously people liked what you made.
Oh, they liked it. When I said I wasn't coming back, they were upset. I had gave out some recipes. It was kind of funny.
Oh, that was generous of you.
Well, I had some regulars. I knew what they loved. Here, you go make it. Which is really part of baking. Spread the love, right? Nothing I made was incredibly complicated. I mean, the things people make on this show are just beyond me. Not this. I could do this. But, when they get to the big cakes, the big constructions, the showstoppers, yikes, shnikes.
Now, a little bit ago, Nancy introduced another gadget that her husband made for her to poke holes into her biscuit.
How wonderful.
It is. So I guess, gadgetry that's not done by them is acceptable. But as we'll find out later, spoilers, if they bring in ingredients that they didn't make. Like, I guess, not even ingredients, but when Enwezo does his little fondant and it's not made by him, that's a big ding for him.
It is a big ding. And all of the tools they have made themselves. But, Um, Norman talked about making his own things, and I think in this series and in other series, people have made like cookie cutters out of metal,
Hmm.
but they made their own. They didn't buy them. So no one could say, you got the store-bought shape.
Okay.
So there do seem to be some pretty strict rules about what you can and can't do here. And here they are complimenting Richard again.
Yeah. Now, earlier, Diana said, hasn't got a soggy bottom, have they? So, soggy bottoms seem to be like a universal bane of cooking.
It is kind of funny. They make it up a lot. It's, yeah, she burned hers a little bit, which is just a vagary of the oven, probably.
Now, is it okay for something like a rum cake to have a soggy bottom?
Only after you put the rum in.
Okay.
It should not come out soggy, because if you do, then when you put the rum in, the cake will sink.
All right, that makes sense.
So you want it to be fully cooked, it'll keep its structure.
And Chetting a big sigh of relief from her there. It's got to be so daunting to have something judge when you haven't even had the chance to sample what you've made.
Oh, they're sampling it, though. Come on.
You think so? But if they cut into it, then that's going to show up.
I think they all make extra. I would. I mean, if you
Oh,
tell me
okay.
to make 36, I'm making 40, at least.
Okay, all right. Well, that'll work for some challenges, but not all of them if it's like one big piece.
True. And I think like on the technical challenge, which is coming up next, where they're giving very specific ingredients and measurements, no, they don't get to try it. So, but in this case, this is one they should know like the back of their hand. And look at him loving on Martha. And she looks so happy. Oh, she just looks so happy. And here we are at Kate with her Parmesan and apple, which looked delicious. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And now she's talking about, oh, the apple made that soggy.
Too bad, but nice combination of flavors, I would imagine.
I think it looks beautiful. I don't know. I think I would eat the heck out of those, frankly. Yeah, see, Mary's like, good try experimenting, my man, but no.
And I wonder if he had actually tried that before.
Probably, but the look on his face tells me maybe he was just sort of hanging it out there and seeing what happened. There you go. And Weser did okay.
Fennel and rye.
Yeah, that looks delightful. Those just look perfect.
Because fennel's a strong flavor, rye's a strong flavor, so yeah, I can see those going together.
Yeah, but, in moderation. And there's Norman's little farthing biscuits, which is a very, very, very old-fashioned biscuit.
Okay. Farthing, I assume, just named after the currency? Or is there something deeper to it?
Yeah, that's what they would cost.
Okay.
Back in the day, they would have cost a farthing.
Okay.
But he got a handshake. Have we seen a handshake before now?
I think we maybe did in the first episode, the first time Paul sampled Richard's whatever it was that he made the first time, and he told him he was in the wrong industry as a builder.
Never underestimate the power of lard, because it can get you a good handshake. Lard.
Now, this is going to be a silly question, but what is lard exactly? It's just rendered fat, or is it something else?
It's rendered pig fat.
Okay.
And depending on where it comes from the animal, there's lard. There's something called leaf lard, which is a very light. It has no flavor, really. It's the best lard, which comes from around the kidneys. But it's just a fat, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's really underrated. People got away from it in the old saturated fat craze, but delicious, and it does a lot for a bake. It makes it both rich and flaky, which butter can't really do, and shortening can't really do. So it does it both jobs.
Okay. So why can't they do them?
It's just the chemical nature of the fat itself. Shortening gives you like really good layers. Butter can, makes it taste great and taste really rich. Lard just does both.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of lard, people. Use it. Everything in moderation.
Yeah. And now we're into the second challenge. So
this is the technical challenge. We have arrived at the technical challenge. So once again, everyone has gotten the exact same instructions and ingredients. They may or may not have seen this. Generally speaking, I'd say most of the contestants have never tried this recipe, which is Florentines. Yum.
And So is that a British thing or an Italian thing? Because I immediately think of Florence when I hear Florentine.
I have no idea where those are from. I'm going to say they're French because it's between the two of them. I don't know.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do? Because I can. I'm going to Wikipedia. I'm going to find out.
Do it, dude. Well, they're delightful. They're full of nuts and chopped fruit, and they're very sugary and super sweet. A little goes a long way with a Florentine.
Okay. Well, not to go into too much detail, but Wikipedia does identify them as an Italian biscuit.
Which makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. And here's Jordan chopping his nuts. I love that. He's so afraid of that woman. He is so afraid of Mary Berry. I don't think he cares about Paul at all, but he's afraid of Mary.
Yeah, he may not even be seeing Paul.
Well, if the two of them were standing next to each other, I gotta be honest, I'd be looking for Mary's approval pretty hard, like your grandma.
And he called her Scary Mary Berry, which puts me in mind of the best trailer mashup I've ever seen called Scary Mary. You can look it up on YouTube.
Oh, I will.
Where someone re-edited Mary Poppins to be a horror movie.
I love it.
And it works really well.
She is scary, really.
Yeah, the things she does in a different context are very sinister.
Yeah, if you change the music a little bit and take on all the jolliness, wow. She's a harsh taskmaster.
Check it out. It's kind of brilliant.
I absolutely will. So they're using golden syrup to make caramel to then make a dough.
And what is golden syrup?
Golden syrup is a byproduct of sugar making. So it's equivalent to sort of cane syrup in the United States, but it's just this byproduct they discovered when they started to make refine sugar, and it's very sweet and it's really delightful. But it works in this because all sugars are liquids in recipes. So you can use golden syrup, which is a liquid.
Okay.
Just like you could a cup of sugar. It's the exact same thing.
Now, have you ever made Florentines?
No. No, but it looks pretty simple. Doesn't look too hard. So the trick here is to get it thin enough and let them cook long enough that they're going to spread out to get that shape that Paul was holding. You want to be pretty big and thin. But it requires patience to do that. Which, if it were me in that tent, I'd be freaking out. I mean, it must be so hard to wait when you don't have a lot of time.
Well, yeah.
I can't even imagine what that's like.
Nice time lapse there.
It is. And here's some classic shots of people staring at ovens, which is really the greatest currency of this show, I think.
They managed to keep it interesting. The pacing of the editing in the show is really good.
It really is. It really is.
They just keep it moving, but it's never frenetic. It's you always know what's going on.
Yes, exactly.
Michael Bay did not direct these episodes.
No, we would have a lot more exploding ovens if this was a Michael Bay production.
Yeah, and very, very one-dimensional characters.
Yes, and a lot more cuts. A lot more cuts. We passed this by a little earlier, but Norman mentioned that his place in the tent had changed.
Oh.
Which I thought was interesting. I hadn't really noticed, but apparently every week they switch positions, which is kind of cool because, I think where you're standing in that tent could be very different in terms of distractions or equipment. And Wizard, don't do that. Don't cut him out. Total fail. Total fail right there. What was he thinking?
I guess maybe... Do biscuits typically have a very even edge?
Yes, generally, but...
So maybe that's what he was thinking.
I guess. I mean, when you think like a McVitie's biscuit that comes out of the sleeve at the store, they're all perfectly round. But, when you're making them, I don't know if they're perfect. I don't know what he was thinking. I think he just had the cutter from the first round and just went crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, tempering chocolate. Ugh.
So what's the trick there? Again, I guess melt it but don't burn it?
Melt it and then cool it down slowly. The trick that you're trying to get here is to keep the chocolate shiny. So when you melt chocolate, it's very shiny. And to keep the shine, you have to cool it down to a very specific temperature, but you have to do it kind of slowly. It's a complicated process.
I'm starting to realize why I never got that much into baking.
Right?
It takes a special kind of patience that I'm pretty sure I don't have.
It's probably the same patience that's required to learn how to make sauces, which I'm terrible at. Terrible. Oh, this zigzag pattern.
So slightly set, but so not so liquidy that it's going to run all over, but still liquidy enough that you can actually pour it.
You have to be able to mark it and have the mark stay as it continues to cool.
Okay, and that's what Martha was just doing right there.
Right, so she's using the fork to make the zigzag, which is correct.
Okay.
But if it's too hot, you put the zigzag in and it just melts back into itself.
Wait, so are they completely coating one side of the biscuit and then just drizzling it on the other side?
They don't even have to drizzle the other side. It's really just supposed to go on one side. But, here's the technical challenge. They're all sort of doing it their own way. And as far as I know, they're not really supposed to speak to each other. Mm-hmm. They're all looking at each other, but they're just winging it.
Although Mel was just helping Martha there.
Right?
And telling her, I think you're doing it right.
Oh, if I were standing anywhere near Martha, I'd be like trying to lip read.
Yeah.
That's a good skill. Future contestants on this show, learn to lip read.
And that's something that distinguishes this show, I think. I can't remember another contest type show where the hosts were actually singling out a contestant to help them out that way.
I know. I love that.
It's not like she was doing any of the tasks for her, just giving her some very relevant information.
Tiny, and not before she did it, but only after she'd done it.
Yeah, okay, good point. Good point.
And I love the fact that during that whole technical challenge, most of the contestants are completely willing to admit they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's not that false sensibility of, oh yeah, I've got this. They're willing to admit that they're nervous, that they're maybe out of their depth, that they have no clue. And that's so charming to me. I mean, that's very encouraging that people are willing to admit that they don't know something.
Yeah. It takes a certain amount of bravery to do that, especially when you're on camera.
Yes, exactly. So here we are at the judging. And I love the detail they go into here, what they're looking at, why something's not measuring up or why something's great.
Yeah, and they're again more like instructors rather than judges.
Yes, I like the fact that the whole group has to sit there and watch this.
Mm-hmm.
So they are learning from each other and the judges, even though they weren't really allowed to converse. Now, I can't even imagine how you keep a straight face during this, though. The minute they said, "Oh, your bake is terrible," I'll probably fall off the stool.
Yeah.
No. Overbaked. Oh, sorry, Mary.
Oh. God, these really do look good, though. Every one of them. I'd be a terrible judge because I would say, you're all wonderful. These are delicious. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. I love you all. But their judging though is so, I guess, British in a way. That's not bad. It's such a great thing to say. The way that they compliment things. It's not that excessive, jumping up and down American style.
Yeah.
Well, not just American. Other countries do it too. I mean, we've all watched. If you haven't, please watch some Spanish television. It is awesome. If you want to see over the top, wow. So good. It's so good.
And there have got to be Brit shows where they do that too.
Oh, I'm sure. Didn't they invent Big Brother? That horrible show?
Oh, you're right. They sure have.
Well, all right.
We just have we have a nice group of people in this particular show.
But in other series as well. It's just the perfect format.
Yeah.
Perfect format.
So Richard is really just knocking it out of the park again.
Richard's killing it this week with his little pencil. He looks so happy, too. He's so genuinely happy. Oh, and everybody claps and everybody's happy.
And, I'm kind of glad that it's only the technical challenge that tests for knowledge base, because there's a big luck factor there. If one person happened to bake Florentines once before, that gives them an enormous advantage. And then it's not really about skill level. It's just that, I've done this before.
Although, you could have made them before, but you didn't make them the Mary Berry way. So I wonder if there's any, moment where you think you know something, but by not following the directions, you get marked off. I don't know how picky they are when it comes to the final product.
It's certainly an appropriate thing to have because you do want to see what a person's general knowledge is.
Sure.
But I'm also glad it's only 1/3 of the contest.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I like the way that they've set it up. Make us something you really know how to do. Make us something you probably have never seen before, and now wow me.
Mm.
You know, it's a nice balance of challenges, I think. So here we come to the showstopper. And here they are, sort of just summing up where everybody is after the first day.
Yeah, making some predictions as to who needs to do really well and who's kind of safe so far.
And it's Sue, fiendish. And look at her awesome shoes. Are those campers? I think they are.
Oh, I haven't noticed them. I'll have to take a look.
They're so good.
What are campers anyway? I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh, it's just a brand of shoes that I personally like.
Okay.
And here's everyone wearing the same clothes.
Mary's outfit is pretty rockin'.
I know.
She looks really cool in that.
For somebody rolling up on, I think, 80,
yeah.
She looks awesome.
Yeah, good for her.
So did we mention the clothes in the last episode?
I don't think so. No, we didn't do a fashion cast for the previous one.
Well, everyone has to wear the same clothes both days for editing purposes.
Oh, that makes sense.
Just to make sure that, when they're talking to people or doing sort of asides that really don't have anything to do with the particular challenge, everybody always looks the same. So I'm sure the editing team is like, thank you.
So because we were talking over, I totally missed what this challenge is.
The showstopper of Biscuit Week is to create a 3-dimensional biscuit display. So It has to stand up on its own, and it needs to be show-stopping. It's got to, have some serious dimensionality to it. And, there it is. We want it all homemade and Wezzo.
Yes, foreshadowing.
Yeah, which is right now.
And what is fondant exactly?
Fondant is a sugar paste, but it's made with, I think, glycerin and something else. Glycol? I can't remember now. It's a G word, but it's a sugar paste that can be rolled out. It's edible, but it can be shaped. So it's quite stiff, and it can be rolled out and shaped. And like if you have a wedding cake and it's got a really, really smooth surface, that sort of thing that people paint on, that's fondant.
Okay.
Oh, and here's Martha. Ski Village. Oh, so good.
And complex, too.
Yes, and
Go
ahead. Sorry.
A ski village is going to have a lot. Well, it depends on how you approach it, I suppose, but...
And there's the drawing.
Yeah, that's pretty complex right there.
You know what? I was curious about these drawings because we both admire them so much. And apparently... there was a video editor on the show, and they asked him to draw the bakes because people were having a hard time visualizing them. So he became the guy who illustrates the thing that the contestants are making, and he does it after the show's done.
Oh, very cool.
He at least draws what the contestant intended. Now, whether it shows up like that or not, at least you know what they meant to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name?
I like it. It's a nice addition.
Yeah. His name is Tom. Tom the Drawer. And here's Nancy describing her incredibly complicated bake. Look at all that. I mean, she's making a house and trees and kids, and it's going to have this... it would take me a week to make that. And they're get 5 hours or something. It's amazing. That's amazing what these guys can produce.
But now, these are things that they do have the opportunity to practice before. Is that right?
If they have time, yeah. They get a week.
Okay.
As far as I know, they don't know what the bake is until the day of the preceding show. And then they have a week to figure it out. But, many of these people have jobs and families, and I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Now, pistachio and rosewater. I've heard rosewater mentioned not just in this show, but in a lot of other things too. And I'm sure I've had things that had rosewater in it, but that's another thing that it's not literally what it sounds like, right?
No, it is.
So they soak roses in water?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Oh,
it's an essence of rose in water, and it's one of those flavors, as many of the floral flavors are, like lavender. If you use too much, it tastes like soap,
hmm.
because it's so strongly floral that it tastes like soap. So it has to be really subtle.
Okay.
But no, it is absolutely roses.
Oh.
Here's Jordan cutting out his monster, and I love it. I love his whole theme here.
Oh, well, I love my kaijus, so I'm really partial to this one.
I
Yeah.
think it's just so brilliant that he's doing something, that totally speaks to him. However,
Yep.
yeah, he's screwing that up completely.
Just too thin or too wet or both?
Too thin, too warm.
Mmm.
If you're going to roll and cut dough, it needs to be cold and pretty stiff. And he left it out on the bench too long. Because, okay, now we're doing sweet cookies in this one, basically. So there's a
Okay.
lot of butter and a lot of sugar. And those are, liquids that are sticky. When they're not cold, that's bad scene. And here's Norman. Oh, not loving what he's making here.
Yeah. Now, is he going for something more well, I mean, the design's going to be complex, but the biscuits themselves, are they standard?
Super simple.
Okay.
It's a shortbread with food coloring, basically. And
Oh.
his design is not very complicated. I mean, it's just repetitive. This is where his ideal of simplicity just falls down completely. As opposed to, you've got brilliant Chetna here who's making a carousel. Good Lord, that thing's huge.
Now, is there something about sweet biscuits that lend them to a 3D structure? Like, are they inherently more stable than a savory biscuit would be just because of the ingredients that you'd be putting in them?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. No. In fact, typically, the best, when you think about gingerbread houses, gingerbread's a very stiff dough. What you want is a stiff dough. So sugar doesn't actually help that very much
Okay.
because sugar's a liquid. When you cook it, it tends to spread, and you want something that's not crazy sweet. In an optimal situation, you just want something good. So when they say that they want sort of sweet biscuits, it takes a lot of technical ability to pull that off. Like here's Diana, she's making a cookie around a can to get it to be round. That's brilliant, super smart.
I love her.
I do too. Look at her making her cute little locomotive. It's adorable. Oh, and now she's under scrutiny. Mary's getting all up in her business. Like, show me your roll. And she's making her little Swiss roll cookie.
Okay, so a Swiss roll is not just a cake thing. It can also be a biscuit thing.
Well, I think she's just using that as a term, that this is a rolled pinwheel shape. But, and then they complimented her, which I think is wonderful.
Such a clever technique.
It really is. Well, what Kate's doing here by, forming them on a mold and then cooking them into shape is great. And, well, and she just said this is an instance where she's making a spare. Just in case.
Smart.
Super smart. Oh, Ian. Every time I see him, I was like, oh, Ian. Sorry, everybody.
He's pretty dreamy.
He is dreamy. My husband's dreamy, but, oh, Ian. Here's Chetna making the biggest cookie ever. Like, it's just huge. Good luck with that.
It's pretty daring to do something like that. Again, she's practiced before, I assume.
Yeah.
But she's not playing it safe.
She said she had practiced it one time. She had practiced it and gotten it to work one time. Oh, and here's Ian's little cacti. So cute. He's making a cowboy scene. And there's Martha's tiny mountain.
Is it the mountain?
Right. So she's pre-scored that because she's going to slot her cookies together.
Okay.
Which is smart because even though the cookie spreads, it has a line in it that makes it easy to cut. And, Jordan, total fail here.
So he says now something about baking paper?
Yeah, it's just, like parchment paper. We would call that in the United States. But,
And so wouldn't that make it easier to get the stuff off?
It would depend on the cookie. And what he said here was, I don't use it at home. Well, Jordan, why did you use it here?
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
were you thinking? All right. Shout out to Louis. His designs are just amazing. And they say it at least a couple of times. He's a graphic designer. So, I mean, the man knows his art. And look at this.
So I'd love to know, did I miss it? I mean, did they show that he had made stencils beforehand to? Okay, there it all is. That answers that. That's great.
But it's just stunning. And I love the fact that he's married flavor with shape. So the
Yes.
dragon is spicy.
Yeah, perfect.
It just creates this incredible multisensory experience that is just, I think that's what it's kind of a hallmark of a baker who's taken it to the next level.
Mm,
Sure, you could make a dragon, but did you think to, make the dragon infused with chili?
yeah.
Which is just a wonderful idea. Wonderful idea. He's so clever.
I imagine that's the only aspect of a dragon that you could flavor because, what do green scales taste like?
I don't know. And nobody wants to eat sulfur. Nobody.
No, no, no. And I like that Sue established what the piratical standard was for legs.
I love it. Yeah, one-legged buddy. And of course, he had it done. He was there. And here's the Weather piling up his cookies and fondant from a store. But see, okay, so there's Diana's round cookie. And here's that just beautiful dragon. Beautiful.
And I would think a round cookie like that would be even harder to bake because there's a lot of distance between, say, the bottom and the top of it.
Yeah, I didn't see her put it in the oven, so I don't know if she stood it up. But I don't know how she did it.
Probably, I guess you would have to stand it up, otherwise it would collapse, wouldn't it? Unless there was something in there to support it, but can you even do that in an oven?
I guess, well, you could turn it halfway.
Oh, true, true.
It's round. Just roll it over.
With Chetna's expression there.
I know, right? She's so happy.
Just seeing Paul work in the background.
I know. He's just standing there, scowling. And here's once again Diana kind of putting herself down.
Yeah,
saying, I'm traditional. So what?
It's so unfortunate that she does that.
Let it go, lady. You're fine. And look how cute that thing is she's making.
Yeah.
Okay, I love the space penguin. I don't know what to think about this, but I mean, the yellow's terrible.
It looks really messy to me.
It looks like a kid made it,
Yeah.
It really does. It looked like it came from a child's birthday party. I kind of wish I could watch the actual raw footage, of the 5 hours to see what they're really doing when.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the editing has made it to look like an absolute frantic rush at the end, but...
But I'd hate to discover something that made me like the show less somehow.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe we should just let them give us the product we love.
Yeah, give me the illusion.
I love the illusion.
So it's piping time.
It's piping time. Oh, God.
And piping just refers to putting icing on a cake? Or is it more specific than that?
No. It's just, it's putting icing on anything.
Or is it detailed icing as opposed to just slathering something on?
Well, yeah. You ice a cake and then you pipe on a decoration.
Okay.
And I just want to go back to fondant. I finally looked it up. Gelatin is part of that mix, which is what gives it some body there.
Okay.
Oh, Sue. Oh, she's so funny. I love her. And look at Ian smile. He's like, oh, thank you for making my life decent.
I think Sue has a little crush on Ian, and who can blame her?
That's why I don't feel bad. If a lesbian can have a crush on Ian, I certainly can.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yay! And he just seems awfully nice.
He does.
Well, they all are. Who are we kidding?
And here again, I like the editing because the pacing of it really got fast to help us feel the tension of these last minutes.
Oh, and this great score. Their
Yes,
music is wonderful.
it is. It's subtle. It's really appropriate to the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And no heavy metal. Not that heavy metal doesn't have its place, but
I have no problem with it.
not here.
Yeah, I'm totally pro metal, but yeah, not when you're talking about cookies. It's just weird.
I'm sure Kiss could do something with that.
You think?
I think so.
Okay.
Gene Simmons, he's a talented dude.
I just don't want to see that tongue in here. I just don't. Sorry. Oh, and everyone looks exhausted. But they all look kind of awesome. Oh my God. And Nancy's completely covered in icing. All colors of icing.
It's like a painter.
Yes, and now they will sit here politely and wait to be judged.
And it really looks like they were put through the ringer on this one. I think this was a particularly challenging one.
I love how they've cleaned up the tent, though. You know, when it comes to judging, somebody has gone in there with a handy wipe.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Mm-mm. Look how cute this is.
It really is.
Oh, Ian has just made the most delightful little cowboy scene.
Wonder what he used for the sand. I've just noticed that.
Brown sugar, maybe? Oh, they like it. Yeah, getting a little nailed on that ugly green, but, you know, it's perfect cacti color.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No problem with it.
But in that case, would you want to go with something that's more accurate to the real world or something that's more pleasing to the eye?
I think the green with all those browns looks good. There's nothing wrong with that to me. I mean, what are you going to make them? Like bright Kelly green? That's no cactus.
Yeah.
And here's Diana's little tiny locomotive.
She even put a little backdrop behind it. That's cute.
I know. I love it. I love it. It's so cute.
And I mean, it looks simple to me compared to some of the others, but I think that's deceptively simple because there's a lot of complex things happening in there with.
I agree. There's a lot of technique in what she's doing. And yeah, she could have piped icing all over it to make it look fancy, but it wouldn't have been more technique than anyone else has done. In fact, I think she did some things that were harder. And here's the Richard's pirate scene, which is so cute.
It really is. The mermaid is.
He's a pretty good artist. I mean, the guy's a good artist.
Wow. The sea monster is
Holding the person. I mean, that's a shape you have to really figure out. Well, good to be in construction, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, and they love it.
Great design and great bake too.
Yep, they love that thing. Oh, I love it. You know, it's so funny to me that Paul's figured as sort of the bad cop judge, you know, the cowl of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's nothing like that.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, maybe in context of this show, he's the bad cop judge, but he's, again, context is everything.
It totally is. I mean, there is no bad cop here. His judgments are so good. And he compliments where it's deserved. I think that's fun, though. I'm not going to lie. Jordan's is sloppy looking, but it's really kind of adorable.
It is. It is. It's a cookie monster.
Cookie kaiju. Oh, I can't believe she pulled that off. I mean, that is one huge cookie.
Yeah. Any kind of soggy bottom there would be disastrous for that thing. And
no, I think they commented it being a little overbaked, but yeah.
Yeah, I can understand her erring on the side of caution.
I would. And here's Nancy. Now, she's made a brandy snap roof, which is, I would say, a relative of the Florentine. It's, it's a sugar thing that spreads out.
Brandy snap. So is brandy anywhere in there, or is that a different kind of brandy?
It's a brown sugar thing.
Okay. Nancy, again, was so calm and confident and gracious with their praise. And now and Kate was relieved. And she comes across as not being as confident as some of the others, and I do wonder why.
No. No, I don't know why, because she's an excellent baker. Well, they all are.
Oh boy. Mary just gave him the dagger eyes.
Well, and he's got a junky cookie.
Hmm.
Total fail. That's a total fail. Sorry, and was oh, and here's Louis George and the dragon. That is just spectacular.
It's incredible. That dude is talented.
Louis, I'm going to put going to your baker on my life list. Why not?
So do you know where in England he opened this? I'm assuming it's England.
It's in his hometown. Poynton? With a P? Poynton? I cannot tell you where that is in England, but I believe it's in his hometown.
Okay.
I know I'm going to guess it's near Manchester because I think he talked about being Mancunian, which, wow. How do you get from Manchester Mancunian? I don't know. So, in the middle. That's my guess. Poynton is in the middle. I'm probably completely wrong about it.
Because what else could you do with a Manchester? A Manchesterian that's awkward.
That's kind of odd. Yeah. Well, fair enough.
A Manny?
A Manny?
Yeah, that's a little too gender specific. This is beautiful.
Her little ski village.
Icicles and it's great.
Oh, I love it. She's got the little, car that goes up the I guess it's dental floss. I don't know what that is. It's so cute.
It's not spun sugar or something, is it?
I don't think so. But again, I mean, what she's done is the same thing that Louis did, which is marry flavor with shape or theme in a really clever way. She just kicked it up a notch.
So what were the flavors of that?
Mulled wine and hot chocolate and I think some kind of cider.
Ah.
Oh, it's just genius. So brilliant. And here's some pastoral scenes to make us happy.
Good B-roll. Good B-roll.
I know, right? And the judgment. Yeah, Ian saved himself with his adorable cowboys.
I'm glad he did. I wouldn't have wanted to see him.
I am too. I don't know what that sand is. That's a good question. No, I'm curious. Yeah. Oh, Jordan. Yeah, and this is a good compliment.
All right, yeah.
Jordan's is a mess, but these are some of the best biscuits that we tasted.
So it's good that they keep in mind of all the aspects of the judging that they're going for.
Yeah. So cute. Oh, those pirates. They're adorable. Just such a good group of contestants here.
And see, Norma's display just isn't as attractive as a lot of the other ones, too. I think it's kind of muted colors.
Yeah, it's just ugly. It's so simple.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing. And Weather, no. Mm-mm.
I'm not sure how you would even eat that, because you'd have to take...
You take it apart.
Okay.
You take it apart. And it makes me sad because, I'm such a huge fan of NASA. When I see a spaceship, I want to love that spaceship, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gets defunded, too.
Ugh, and here they are. It's being so nervous. Oh, it's got to be grueling.
I wonder how long they have to sit there as the cameras are rolling before they finally, can do a take.
No idea, but... Or how many times they I hope they don't do it, more than once,
Oh.
Okay, now pretend to be sad again. We missed that one.
Oh, that'd be awful.
Richard Starbaker, the first of,
several times.
We'll just say, some to come. Good job, Richard. We love you, Richard.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at Mel, comfort Sue.
Yeah.
She has to give the bad news.
So much love.
It really is.
And they break bad news very, very well.
I said, oh, wait, so. What? Okay. Somewhere we need to find him saying his own name. Because it's just driving me up the wall. How do we pronounce your name? You're a delight. You're just a lovely human being. You deserve to be pronounced correctly.
But good concluding speech from him. Very gracious.
It is. And also from Mary. I think she picks up so clearly on things that are important to people. And what she said to him was, how proud his family would be of him. And clearly that's extremely important to him. So I've noticed that in the shows, she always says something that's very directly personal and meaningful to that person. I love her empathy.
Yeah, and even Paul. Yeah,
Throwing out the shout, You're okay.
definitely not a bad guy.
No. Yeah. Norman, get it together. Not good enough.
Well, yeah, you can only fly under the radar so often.
Yeah, you can't be Mr. Simple every week because look at what some of these people are creating. It's just amazing. Just amazing.
And now Diana gets to do a little bit of acting here. It's maybe my favorite moment from the whole episode.
And she comes in. I wonder how many times she had to do that.
Yeah.
It feels like that was the third take,
I love it.
And here is our beautiful, beautiful photography.
Yep.
Oh, it just makes everything better.
Great color balance, great light balance, beautiful depth of field. I mean, they are on point.
BBC, we love you.
Yeah, we sure do.
All of you technical folk in this production were earning your money. And that is the end of episode 2.
It was a good one. So many biscuits.
And next week, episode 3, bread. Love it. Love the bread show. It's one of the more complicated things to work with, so.
Why?
It's alive.
Oh, the yeast.
Yes. Bread is a living thing, and it can go totally bonkers if you don't keep an eye on it. And it's also Paul Hollywood's specialty, so I know it's as far as his interest, this is the show that is closest to his heart.
Mm.
Although he worked as a baker in apparently many, many fine establishments, which
Okay.
I have learned. Many hotels, and his father and grandfather were bakers.
Really? I did not know that. I should probably find out more about the backstory of all these people.
He's definitely done his time in the baking world.
Mm.
So, we have come to the end of another episode.
All right. Well, till the next one then.
Indeed. Hopefully, nobody else will be elected. We are moving into the holidays. Hopefully, I'll be able to squeeze in a little baking. This has not been the year for that, but gingerbread biscotti, oddly enough, are top of the list.
Well, when you need someone to share those with, you know who you can call.
You are such a helper, Joel.
Well, thank you. I do what I can.
Anyway, meet us again for episode 3. For now, we will say good night. Good night, Joel.
Good night, Sharon.
Good night, everybody.